Morning, Dennis.
Good morning. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Yeah.
I
Did your
miss.
mom work out? Did it work out okay with the appointment?
Yeah. Her life alert went off yesterday, so that's why I wasn't on. I was sitting
Oh, I'm
here
so,
waiting, and it went off, and I got notified, so I just stopped, drop, and roll. But she's doing good. Um, she's just been through a lot lately with a couple of surgeries and all the anesthesia and all that rehab. It's just taken her a while. She's 85, but
oh wow. Bless her heart. That's
yeah,
great. Wow. I don't know. I sometimes I say to myself, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself.
yeah, me too.
Damn. I mean
Absolutely.
that generation. I mean, they didn't have near the medicine we have or the health care. And gosh, I've had a ton of. I've had a grandmother, believe it or not, that got to like 109. I've had a aunt
Wow.
who's 99, a whole bunch of people in their high 80s and 90s, and the one that went over 100. The one that went over 100 actually never spoke English and immigrated from Poland in 1927.
Wow.
Just tough as nails, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, my mother grew up on a farm with two older brothers, so yeah, she's tough as nails.
Yeah, this grandmother, she chopped. That her kids bought her like a regular stove, but she refused to use it. And so she continued to chop her own wood for her wood burning stove, which
Awesome.
is what is how she cooked till the day she died.
Wow.
I mean, I mean, hardcore, just a different. I mean, her husband was almost killed in World War One. He was in the Polish cavalry, and they saw his hand move on a pile of dead people and pulled him out, and he survived.
Wow.
And then he came to America and saved all his money for like 8 or 9 years before he sent for the entire family to come and join him. So those people really had it rough, man.
Yeah. 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 My grandparents were born like 1909 and 1918, so they went through the World War One, the Spanish flu, World War Two, and all that stuff. Yeah. And my mother, to this day, when she leaves, I'm picking her up to take her somewhere. She makes sure all the lights are turned off because you
Yeah,
don't run electricity and get that charge. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep. They're tough.
yeah. It's we're all of us. We may not believe it, but we're really the product of natural selection over many years. We've overcome a lot in the past, the survival of the fittest or whatever they call it. And we really are really fortunate in many ways.
Yeah.
But I don't think I appreciated it enough when I was younger. Now that I'm old, I can say stuff like this and get away with it. But
Yeah,
but
my junior roommate at East Carolina, we shared a trailer together. He took me to New Bern to his home, and his grandmother came over on the boat, didn't speak a word of English, and she made stuffed cabbage for dinner that night. And I don't like cabbage. So I was sitting there and I started eating it, and I was going to try to keep a straight face. And my God, it was one of the best things I've ever put in my mouth.
yeah, that's called guamki. This is what my grandmother called it, and it was all the stuff was delicious, and the desserts she put hardly any sugar in it at all, so and no frosting on cake. All the cookies and that kind of stuff was very low sugar, which at that time I thought was, man, this stuff is crap. How can you make stuff that tastes like this? But but because I grew up with my mother making them, all kinds of pastries and all kinds of stuff. So, but now that way of eating is really popular.
Yeah.
So not that I do a very good job of doing that, but so many things that have low sugar or whatever taste like shit, I think. And but her stuff tasted great. I loved it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's going on with, how are things going with the business? Are you seeing good outcomes, or I know you got your two new
Um,
products you're trying to go online with.
yeah, we've our distributor is B&B Pecans. His name is Al Bundy. Um,
No way. No
yep,
way.
yep. Oh wow,
Awesome.
he's probably about the same kind of personality, but he's done well for us because I was in IT and I was working 60, 80 hours a week. So I didn't have time to get out and try to do self distribution other than a couple of businesses that were real close. He has us with the sweet and spicy and Texas dry rub in North Carolina from the mountains to the coast, and Harris Teeter's, Lowe's, most Publix, Piggly Wiggly's, getting into Carly C's, IGA's, all the military commissaries. And in South Carolina, we're from the mountains to the coast in Lowe's Foods.
Wow.
So, um, in a way, I want to get our Cajun dry rub spicy honey mustard distributed, but I've made I looked at it the other day, 13 production runs of those two products. And I've not had a, distributor or store, and I'm just selling direct. So I've gotten all that profit. So I'm not sure if I want to do that or not.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, but I've got to redo the website, and I want to get some other avenues for selling.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think you may want to talk to this guy that I have Webinopoly down in Houston. Um, his name is Mo Farhat. I think I've mentioned him in class, but he's a great guy, and he's one of Shopify's biggest partners. Been doing it for quite a number of years. Has 50 full-time developers on his staff,
mm,
and he's very reasonable because he does such a high volume of sites. Two to $5,000 is what I've seen him charge for really robust sites, and so he'd be at least worth getting a bid from or talking to. I think you'd see the value in that. But I think that I think live streaming might be helpful to you. I think that's in your case. You probably want to do some maybe have a guest cook something using your spice or something like that, and let people try it or try it on air so that people go, oh, that's great, that kind of
yeah.
thing. But the sales that you make with the 13 production runs, are those all from your current website?
That was us selling direct at festivals like Got
Oh,
to BNC, the
got it.
state fair,
Got it.
and some of the online sales is kind of a mixture. So
Got it. Got it. I forgot about those fairs and festivals. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think we've talked maybe a little bit about this, and I don't know. Do you know Jack Nails, right?
yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So he and I are trying to put together. Well, we will put together a Got to Be NC live streaming channel on Talk Shop Live, and he's gotten some budget dollars to promote it. I don't know how much, but it's better than zero. And that'll be in the fall. We'll have some kind of event. I visualize it as kind of like the state fair or the Got to Be NC festival, whatever the other thing is called. Where there'll be a bunch of people coming and a bunch of different food vendors related. Hopefully not all in the same category. But we did something similar a year or two ago. It was not in partnership with them. We just did it on our own, and it worked out. It worked out really well. We had, I think we had 82 people selling on that day, 82 companies selling, and some of the people had amazing success. One of them, this wasn't a food vendor, it was a young undergraduate from ECU. Actually, she had just graduated from ECU like 6 months before, and she sold so much on her live show. She scheduled an hour, and she ended up selling for 8 hours straight. and I think she made over $10,000 in one day.
Wow.
You know, and the vendor I was using for the video platform at that time, which is no longer around, they gave her a $10,000 grant because she did so well.
Wow.
Yeah. So sometimes it can click, and in her case, it worked out really well for her. So that's what I'm hoping to get to, and I've got to kind of put together the lesson plan or whatever you want to call it for that live streaming, and so that's what I'm gonna work on the next couple of days and start getting into that so that everyone has time to understand it. But you know, this particular girl, I call her a girl because she's so young, woman. She had been selling on Etsy and on her own website, and the conversion rates. This is just from memory. I think it was something like 2% of the people who came to her Etsy store bought something, and when she went to the live streaming video, it was like a 35% conversion rate. It was way
Wow.
higher. And that's a combination of things. You know, finding the right customer is really the most important thing. And in her case, you won't believe what she was selling. This is really strange. She would go out into the woods around her house and find unusual insects and plants, bring them back to her house and cover them in copper and turn them into jewelry. All different kinds of jewelry, really
Wow.
strange stuff. But she found people worldwide that bought this stuff, and she, after graduating from ECU or shortly before, she ended up making enough money to buy a house and a car. I
Wow.
think she was making $20,000 a month out of her. I think she lived in Grimesland, if I'm pronouncing that right. So, yeah, I was just blown away. We had another guy, another young kid. He had a great story. He was drunk out of his mind his freshman year at ECU, and he was going to a party, and his dad had given him a hat from a UNC national championship in the 80s. Well, I don't know what year, 82 or something like that. And some drunk yelled out at him and said, "I'll give you $50 for that hat." And he said, "Give me 100 and I'll give it to you." And so the guy gave him $100 and he gave him the hat. So then he started going around to Goodwill and all these places and buying basically old sports logo stuff, you know, shirts, hats, all kinds of stuff. And in his first year doing that, he grossed $350,000.
Wow. Wow.
And he's just, you know, overhand. I mean, who knew, right? And now people send him stuff. Like if they're in a Goodwill or something like that, and they see a jersey from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 80s or something, they'll buy it and send it to him, you know, or they'll tell him it's there. And so he just kind of scrounges his stuff. And you know, I mean, when I was that age, all I could think about was getting a job when I graduated, right? You know, gotta get a job, gotta get a job. I wasn't selling, you know, Nike hats for $100. That's for sure. So, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully some others will join us. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm on my iPad, and sharing a screen on an iPad is very different than on a laptop. So today we're going to talk about really adopting a strategy to around category design. We learned the last couple of days what category design is subject-wise, and then the next couple of days we're going to see how to actually apply that, so that and I think it'll be helpful, and I'm sure it'll get you guys thinking a little bit. But once we kind of get through this, then I'm going to start down the path of the live streaming, and that's going to be its own thing. But I do want to cover this stuff because I think it'll be helpful. So let's give it a try. Okay. Let's see if this works. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me try this here. Sorry, hopefully. Okay, well, that's not working too well. Sorry about that. Try one other thing here. Okay. Okay, there we go. All right, trying to make it full screen here. Let's see here.
Dennis, I just want to make sure I'm not missing it. I see a black screen with a timer going, but no video or sound.
Okay, is that true for everybody? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm out of options because I don't know how to do this. So um, it worked great when I tried it this morning and tested it, but for some reason it's not working now. I'm actually in Asheville for a family kind of situation I have to deal with. So
Is
I
it
guess
something one of us can access and share our screens?
yeah, we could try that. Let me let's see if I got to make Jason, you seem to know what to do. Let me see if I can make you the co-host. Okay. All right. All right. So if you go to acceleraterural.org and click on member resources.
Okay.
And then go down to Techstars. It'll be right under the calendar.
Okay.
All right, because click on that, and the Techstars menu should pop up.
Yep.
And you'll see it's called sorry, it's one of the like the fourth one over. Let me just take a quick look here. Create new markets with category design.
Okay.
So click on that, and that'll drop down the today's things, and you'll see a trailer, and then underneath the trailer is the first episode, and we'll just go through probably 4 or 5 of them today.
Okay. So you want me to start with part 1 then, or you want me to do
Yeah,
the trailer?
yeah.
Okay.
No, don't do the trailer. Just do part 1.
All right. Let's see.
And then you can take my job too, and I'll do something else.
Well, I've actually never shared my screen on Zoom before, but let me see if I can figure it out real quick.
It should say share content or something like that. Yay. And you should be able to make it full screen. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, one thing, Jason, you have to do, sorry, you have to enable the sound. If you kind of click back once, you'll see 2 little checkbox on the bottom to share your video and to share the sound.
Where I guess I'm not seeing. So if I click on the share,
Yeah. So you can just stop the share for a second
okay.
and then hit share again. And you should see when the box pops up to share, it's which screen are you going to share? And then you should see two
Okay.
little check marks for sound and video.
Category design best practices
Perfect. Thank
for
you.
those of you that want to roll your own project. We obviously do it for a living, but a lot of companies can't afford to pay us what we'd like to command. So we're going to show you how to do it. And hopefully you can work with your team and create your own category. So before we start, how many people in this room walked in here today thinking category design is about messaging and positioning? Pretty common. Category design is not marketing. But category design is not positioning and branding. In fact, if I'm talking to a company, especially if the CMO calls me first, and they start talking about messaging and branding and positioning, I basically say, give the book to your CEO and we'll talk in 2 weeks. Category design is a company strategy, and CEOs see that. And if you remember, marketing is traditional, compete with your competition, say why you're better. Our software is this much faster than your software. Category design is about marketing the problem. You market the problem, then you worry about the solution and communicate that. And if you don't set yourself aside as different, you're just another player in the market. And that's what category design is all about. You're creating a new place in people's minds to put you, and a new way for them to realize they have a problem that maybe they didn't know they had. It's company strategy. Kevin went over this in the overview presentation, but essentially most companies focus on product design and company design. Adding category design to this actually treats all the other aspects of running your company in a way that you focus on category. Every decision you make, whether it's a marketing decision or an engineering decision, even a hiring decision, category is going to give you a different way to position your decision making in a company and running a company. It's making decisions. When we talk to potential clients, it's funny, they look at the contract and they say, oh, what are you going to deliver to us? And it's like, oh, well, we're going to deliver a category name. We're going to deliver a point of view. We're going to deliver a category thesis. We're going to deliver a lightning strike plan. And the biggest deliverable is going to be helping you make decisions. And they always think that's ethereal. They're like, you're going to help us make decisions? But every project we've done, and yesterday was a great example, company just acquired another company. First time the executive team was in a room together, the whole day was nothing but making decisions. And those decisions are going to lead you to creating the best category you can create.
So now you can go down to the next one. There you go. Perfect. Great job. Thank you.
So where do we start? Two people in the basement come up with an idea, at Category Design Advisors, a little demo code. Today we're going to talk AWS and create a prototype. And then they say, what are we going to do? What's our mission in life? Start with, this is in the book, start with Dave's 3 questions. This is Dave Peterson, one of the other co-authors of Play Bigger. And Dave's 3 questions are pretty straightforward. Essentially, the first one is, what problem do you solve? Second, if you solve that problem, what is the category? And third, if you build a category, how big is it? So let's look at it. First thing you want to do is focus on the problem. A lot of people focus on the solution, but what you want to do is focus on the problem and think to yourself, is this a market insight, a technology insight? You know, Uber was a market insight. We are sick of riding in dirty, stinky cabs. They don't come by when I need them. How nice would it be if I clicked on my phone and actually got a car to show up for me? Technology insight, VMware. We have all this computing power sitting in our IT centers. What if we could harness that and create multiple virtual machines? Technology insight. And then lastly, what's the emotional aha? What will your customers understand and be felt like they're getting punched in the gut, that they have a problem they need to solve? And if you think that way, you're going to end up being able to focus on the solution in such a way that you're going to develop the products differently, you're going to communicate to the market differently, because people understand their problems. If you're having to educate them on your solution, they're not listening. Here's a great example. Bill Gates. In the late 90s, and I remember when it came out because I wanted one, they announced the tablet. And all the tablet was a notebook computer that you flipped down and you had a flat screen and you could touch it. And the way he communicated this to the market was, you can walk around with this and you can do things on it with your finger. Then you had Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, when he announced the iPad, he essentially said, look, we all have computers, we all have cell phones. There's something in the middle. And that new category is the iPad, is the way he introduced it. It's on YouTube, you can watch it. But what's interesting is the iPad is still a flat computer that you manipulate with your finger. But it was focused on consuming media, reading, watching videos, just quickly while you're sitting in your living room, picking it up, looking at the news, or look at your calendar for tomorrow. And it took off like wildfire. He focused on the problem. You have a clunky computer and you have a little phone. What if I give you something a little bit more comfortable to work with? Still just a tablet. Bill Gates missed it.
You're getting good at this.
Second of Dave's question, what is the category? So a category is a container where people store the problem and solution that you've mapped out for them. And those cognitive biases actually cause the category to be ingrained in their thinking, and therefore they're more inclined to buy your products. The category name is not that important to the whole process of cognitive biases, believe it or not. Category name should be utilitarian. People should be able to use it. If you create a category called Intelligent Security IT Specialty Platforms, who the hell's ever going to say that? And if they acronymize it, you're never going to know what it means, right? Whatever that was, ITMSBC, whatever. So basically, think of the category name as your best attempt to label your category. It should be good and concise, but it's not going to end your project if you're trying to create your own category. Here's a perfect example of something simple and obvious. Noise cancellation headsets. It says exactly what it does. Everyone knows what a headset is. It cancels out the noise. And if I said to you, what brand of noise cancellation headsets do you buy? Most people in the room are going to say Bose. And that's because they established the category. Don't lose sleep over developing a category name. We just did a project. It went 3 months. We like to come up with a name kind of in the middle of the process. We didn't come up with the name until the day of the lightning strike planning. It was just getting in the way. And if it gets in the way, it'll prevent you from thinking through all the issues that take you to the category point of view, which we're going to talk about. It's just a name. Here's a tip. This is something we do in projects once in a while. If you're stuck on a category name, or your co-founders and executive team are sitting in a room and Everyone's debating what makes sense. Hand out yellow stickies to everybody and say, put down 5 words that you think are, should influence a category name. Have them do it, everyone writes them down. Say, okay, now rank them from 5 to 1. So everybody ranks them. They choose the word they thought of first. It always puts a 5 in. Then take those words, build a spreadsheet. And if a word is ranked as a 5, put that word in 5 times. If it's ranked as a 2, put it in twice. And then do that for all the yellow stickies and keep building this spreadsheet, and then copy it into a word cloud generator. And then you look at it and you can visually get some creative ideas on what words might make sense. Here, connected is important, intelligence important. What's interesting is the word that the client was focusing on was advertising. And this exercise caused them to throw it out the window. Trademark. Everybody wants to protect everything they do. IP lawyers live in big houses and have big boats. Category design, you don't protect it. It's a gift to the world. You want your competitors to use your category. If people don't think of the category as just a prolific common thing, then it'll be yours and you'll be the only one that has it. And sure, Google will put you at the top every time, but your competitors and the analysts and Gartner, they'll never create a magic quadrant titled my category name if it's trademarked. So come up with something general and think about your competitors. What category should we create that's going to be different? You're going to be able to educate the market, and you'll eventually, because of the way category design works, you'll become the leader. But if you protect it so much that nobody else wants to touch it, then you're going to fail. You'll fall on your face. Now, if you have a lawyer or if you have technology that is very protectable, it's IP, you're just, falling on your face when you tell your lawyer, we don't want to trademark this or register it. There's a process called provisional trademarking. So this is the out. If you got an investor that demands you to do this, file a provisional trademark application, then just put it in the drawer. And in 3 years, when your competitor goes to try to register it, you can pull it out and it's yours.
No, yeah, there you go. Perfect.
How big is your market? So in the book, there's a concept called your suit size. You wear your suit today, your software does something for advertising, and it does it for consumer marketing. But what if your application someday could also do it for business-to-business marketing, B2B? That's the suit size. You put the suit on today that fits, but what if you made it a little bigger and grew into it? That's what the concept of suit size is all about. So don't restrict your vision. If your universe is this big, but it could be that big, create a bigger category. A $0 billion market, VCs love that. A $0 billion market means nobody else has figured this out yet. That's the kind of market you want to go after.
Okay, this will be the last one today. No, I'm sorry. I want to do the next one. I apologize. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing better than I do.
So you've come up with a category. What do we do next? You want to mobilize your whole company, your ecosystem if you have partners, and you want to go out and do what we call a lightning strike. And some people misunderstand how the book conveys lightning strikes, because they talk about really elegant, marketing campaigns, big events. Lightning strike can be simple. It can be 5 very significant people that you want to get in a room together, and you tell them about your story, your point of view, and you drop a press release on PR Newswire. You bought dinner and you spent $700, right? You can go the other way around and you can hijack a show. You can get the biggest booth advertising Wall Street Journal. You'll spend $500,000. You can get just as effective, because if you do that show and you end up with 5 clients, you could have had a really nice dinner and ended up with the same 5 clients. But a lightning strike is the concept of setting the category agenda and starting the conversation. Get people to use your taxonomy and your language. Get them to tell your story. And once you do that, the word of mouth is going to grow. Lightning strike and mobilization is setting a flag on the hill. It gives everybody in your company a destination, a goal, something to march to. It's a process of changing the way people think. When you think, the example we used earlier, if you're thinking advertising and you need to be thinking something different, what is that different? Think about what that different might be. So here's some examples. If you want to change your audience, your employees, get them to change from their old way of thinking to a new way of thinking. So you might look at something. Can we increase revenue? Can we be more relevant? But the key is to shift people away from their existing thought process. If they keep thinking, and I'll go back to the VMware example, if they keep thinking, oh, I'll just buy another computer, I'll put it in my IT center, get them to think, no, I have idle computing power, I'm going to do a virtual machine. So you get people to shift. We call them in the book Frodos, from to, and get that shift happening with everything you communicate.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. That's it for today on this. Okay, thank you very much. That was cool. I got to just sit back and watch. I like that. Thank you, Jason. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, tomorrow I'll get my laptop out and we won't have that problem. Just a couple of things. A lot of this is from the context of the whole company. But I argue that you can apply this thinking to part of your company or a product line or an extension, something that is not necessarily your entire business. So you may, I'm going to use Jason as an example, and I have no inside information. This is just an example, but Jason has a restaurant. He has a processing center. Maybe he wants to come out with a line of seasoning, for seafood, just to make that up. There's no reason why you could not make the seasoning a category design rather than the entire company. And I think that's something I'm hoping to show you guys that it isn't all or nothing, because remember I told you that Techstars is oriented toward technology companies. So sometimes the entire company, it makes more sense. But in many of your all's cases, you have different things that you do, and category design could apply to part of what you do, not necessarily all. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this I just think is interesting, this company is actually in such high demand that it's almost impossible to get them to do work for you. Their standard fee is $350,000 to go through this category design process. So that's the advantage of having access to the Techstars portfolio. We get to see a lot of this stuff that we would never have access to otherwise. So the other thing to keep in mind with venture capital, lots of times the venture capital companies really strongly suggest what you should do. And they'll bring people like this to the table. You wouldn't go out there thinking, oh, I need to spend $350,000 on category design. But your neighborhood friendly VC who just gave you $1 million, they say you should, and you probably will. So I just want to make that point. Any questions or reactions to this concept of category design? Ross, what do you think?
I was thinking like at what point do you, in the planning out process for category design, at what point do you go from like focusing on a beachhead market, so you create your own market or category in one particular focus, like say it's a special seasoning that Jason offers at his restaurant, but then does the company like Techstars mentor you through a business plan to develop like a staged growth process beyond that special seasoning into like certain types of dishes that he would serve and further growth? Or is that
No,
kind of fill
that
out?
that'd be something you'd have to get a consultant to work with you through that process. That someone like Techstars, I think they're up to 2,500 companies that they're working with at any given time. So they can't really get that granular, but they can say, okay, here are three companies that are really good at this if you want to talk to them. And you also can bring it up in a class and say, hey, look, here's what I'm doing. Here's the problems I'm having. But to actual down and dirty implementation, that's generally going to be on you. And we help you find the resources for that.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking about with my idea is what service line within the hospital I'd like to focus on, because my idea Case Match is looking at how to best get patients out of the hospital sooner into
Right.
their particular rehab that best fits their illness and their return back to status quo or as close to normal life as possible. And my hypothesis is that I'd like to start with orthopedic patients, like your run-of-the-mill hip fracture, and then extend into more complex medical problems. But for the past several months, I've just been talking to people on both sides of the product, like inside the hospital and outside the hospital. And here, like getting used to East Carolina and the larger Greenville area, I need to find people who would support doing something different than their status quo. If it's in hip fractures with the orthopedic group, or maybe it would be like post-stroke care with the neurologist here at ECU Health. So that's kind of my next step, is to find a foothold and maybe do some sort of quality study showing that there's a need for a product like Case Match.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect you on that. We'll talk individually on that. Happy to do that. Although I warn you, these guys all want something. If they're going to do something for you, they either want money or donations or promises of something in the future. Just think about the value proposition, what you want, but also what do they get?
If I'm
Any other? Go ahead.
Underpaid resident, then maybe they would pity me or something.
Oh God, forget it. I'll be shocked. I'll say that. That happens. I hope it does. You see how good a salesman you are, right? Anyone else? Bill, what do you think?
Categories for me are pretty well defined with barbecue sauces and dry rubs. But I like to do a little bit of research and thought into it, try to see if maybe we could expand on it. I know our dry rubs are a little different. They're sugar-free, gluten-free, and they're low in sodium. So
well, that's it.
we
That's a
could
new
probably
category.
take that as a healthy alternative to a lot of the dry rubs that are available on the market today, because they're primarily salt and sugar, or sugar and salt.
Well, I think you hit on something here. So yes, you're already in categories, particularly because you deal a lot with grocery stores. So you deal with their categories. I understand that. But going direct to consumer, like you're considering for these two lines, I think you just created a new category: good tasting, sugar-free spices, right? Or rubs.
Yeah.
That needs a lot more thought. I'm not trying to make it sound that easy, but that is a way of thinking, that you are, what could be a new category that you define and that others will end up copying and being underneath you. And I did not know that personally. I'm no expert on spices, but I did not know about gluten-free, sugar-free spices. It's just not something that I'm aware of. So I think there's an opportunity there for some category design.
Okay.
Bryson, what do you think, buddy? Can't hear you. You're muted on your.
Yeah, I used it with my business, with the CBD. I sorted a category of basically hip hop gummies and something for the studio that we were using ourselves. So we kind of made it into a category which took on a life of its own.
Oh, cool. I love it. Bryce is there quietly doing all this amazing shit, and I never hear about it till I call on him and ask him to tell me.
I know, right?
He's selling shirts worldwide, and shit. That's the way to
Hey,
go.
I'm just trying to be like you,
Yeah.
sir. I want a horse
No.
in New York, man. I'm trying to get the horse.
No, you poor bastard. You can have my horses. Julian, yeah, anything you want to? I know Julian doesn't have a camera, unfortunately. Or maybe we're lucky. I don't know the answer to that because I've never seen Julian. But Julian, can you hear me? All right. Well, this has been fun. I really like kind of sitting back and watching. It's a new thing for me. But tomorrow we'll go back. Oh, Julian says he's listening. He's deaf and mute. He's like the perfect girl. Remember in college, I used to tell you the perfect girl was a deaf, dumb, blonde nymphomaniac whose father owned a liquor store. Anyway, I shouldn't say that stuff. I'll get in trouble. Don't tell ECU that I talk like this. Okay, I'll get in trouble. They'll fire me. Well, thanks everybody, and we'll finish up this section tomorrow, and hopefully we won't have the technical glitches. So, is it raining in the east? By the way, I'm on the Asheville. It's pouring here.
I believe it was. It's off and on.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's rained pretty hard off and on for 3
Okay.
days.
Well, our farm really needs it. I'll tell you that. It's like a dust bowl. So I'm glad.
That one.
It makes
Okay.
great fishing weather.
Yeah, good.